Good morning, everyone. This is the Wake Up Rundown for Tuesday, May 15th. Oh, May 15th, that's pretty exciting. Man, my birthday coming up in just a couple of days. Should be fun. Should be fun. What do we have today for our Wake Up Rundown topic? Well, what we have for you is a topic of killing Baron, but mainly of it being stolen. In particular, of essentially outsmiting Baron. And I've often said, and I think I probably have another wake up rundown, it's almost easier to steal Baron than it is to secure Baron. Because stealing Baron, you're like, you have a lot of things going on, you need to, damage it, you need to stay alive, you kind of want to ensure that it's not being stolen. Whereas if you're stealing it, you don't even care if you stay alive. All you want to do is get in there, flash in there, do whatever you can to get in there and steal it. And that's all you're concerned about. Whereas, if you're actually killing it, you're like, okay, well, what pace are we going to kill it at? Is my team going to burst it? So on and so forth. You are watching the numbers, but you're also worried about people jumping on in trying to kill you. Um, and so, especially if the opposing team has a Nocturne, a Warwick, a Lee Sin, those people are really good at stealing Baron. I've stolen a lot of Barons as Warwick because so frequently I'll just be able to jump over the wall with my ultimate and then steal Baron with Smite. And I actually don't even need to ultimate onto the jungler. Obviously, that is ideal, as I'll suppress them and they won't be able to smite. But even if I jump over onto someone else, almost always someone will turn onto me. It'll kind of mess up the damage that's being done to Baron. The jungler will either mess up their smite or not do it in time. Then I get the smite, and that is a steal. But in particular, I wanted to talk about it because a couple weeks ago I was going against Cuddles the Panda, good friend of the show, teammate of mine, and they were playing Lux, and my team was like ahead the entire game. But at one point, we were really far ahead, but we didn't have anyone on their team dead, I don't believe, and my team wanted a Baron. Now, I told them no, but what I was telling them was like, okay, well, let's bait Baron. I really wanted to fight around Baron because we were a lot stronger at that time I was playing Mundo, but I really didn't want to do Baron. Oh, so at one point, we're doing Baron, and one of their players actually runs up into range. So I turn onto them, but the rest of my team's still doing Baron. I'm pinging away, but of course you're not on voice chat. You're just in game. So all you can do is kind of ping at them furiously. So I was pinging furiously. I was like, no, kill this guy. It was like a top lane. It was like a Wukong or something. But I had Oracle, so it wasn't like Wukong was going to decoy and get away. I was like, oh, he ran right up into us. Let us kill him. Um, Anyway, so he runs up, creates this distraction, but my team doesn't turn off Baron, who still had a couple thousand hit points left. And I see that Cuddles Apena on Lux throws out her little Orby ball thing, her E, onto Baron, and I'm like, oh, snap. No matter what happens here, I essentially can't outsmite the combination of the E into R, and she's getting sight from the E. So I'm trying to tell everyone on my team, still furiously pinging, don't attack Baron anymore, because once it gets low enough, it's just going to be an E-R combination from Lux, and that's going to, kill it from out of range of my smite. So anyways, I see this is happening. I see my team isn't turning on to Wukong, so I turn back into the Baron pit, because I'm like, okay, well, I have to try to smite the Baron in between the E and the R proc. Anyways, I turn around, I don't get it. I'm like, oh, man. My team gets all mad at me, and I'm like, yes, I understand. I understand you're upset. They're like, where's Smite? And I'm like, well, that combination does almost 2,000 damage. Cuddles was actually the only one fed on their team. No, it probably didn't do 2,000 damage at that point, but it did do a lot of damage. Certainly over 1,000 damage, and my Smite is only, circa 800. So I was like, no, you have to understand that combination every single time is going to outdamage my smite every single time. So we have to ensure that we do something about about their vision, about the Lux, before we try to do Baron. That's what it is. My team argued for a long time. Then they got mad at me because I didn't build Warmogs on Mundo. But I was like 4-1 the entire game, and I had an Oracle. I think I died really early, and then I picked up an Oracle, and I had the entire game. So it wasn't bad thing. Anyways, we go on, we keep on fighting. We're not really losing the game. Certainly, the Baron let them stay alive longer, which was unfortunate. Whereas if we'd gotten Baron, we just would have won. So the game goes on, and it comes around, and lo and behold, Baron comes up again, and my team really wants to do it. And I tell them, we can't do this because they are going to steal it. Same exact thing happens. We actually weren't even distracted. It was just that, Cuddles the Panda just stole it with their ultimate. And I was just like, I don't do that much damage. I don't do that much damage. So that's one thing to really be, not concerned about, but be wary of. There's a lot of there's a lot of people. Mainly, Lux is like probably the best at it, but there are like quite a few people that can out damage Smite. Cho'Gath obviously with Consume can do, or with Feast can do it. I think Nunu's Consume does up to 1,000 damage too. Obviously, they have to get next to him, whereas Lux can do it from way out of range. And that's one of the best things about Lux. And I was telling my team, like after the first Baron steal, I was like, Lux, I don't really like Lux as a late game champion because she has about the same AP scaling as a lot of other AP champions, but all of her shots are skill shots. If you can land them, that's great, but if you miss some, then you're kind of like below all the other AP champions. I'm like, the only thing Lux does good late game, or really excels at late game, is stealing these objectives. So let's stop doing them. Regardless, stole it again. We're like, oh my goodness. Eventually, we came back and we won the game. I think we just caught people out of place, and like our team overall was all much more fed, despite those two Baron steals. But yeah, be very, very careful. And it's often your job to zone people out. Like the jungler is just there. He just wants to smite the Baron. If you're a teammate and you don't do tons of damage to Baron and you have CC, try to zone out their jungler. Certainly as a Janna, that's always my job. Like zone out their jungler. In particular, if their jungler has a combination that does more damage than smite. And what do I mean by that? Well, Lee Sin can like QQE smite, and that'll do significantly more damage than a Mundo who's just going to cleaver and smite. Nunu can consume smite, which is more damage. Nocturne can like ultimate in. Well, actually, he'll ultimate on a person, then just Q the Baron and smite. But there are like situations where it's pretty easy for the opposition to outsmite the Baron because they can, combine their damage, some of their damaging skills with their smite, and that's something you want to do as a jungler. Is like, get in the practice of using a skill. For example, on Warwick, you'll use Hungering Strike, which is your Q, I'm pretty sure, and then smite just so you do more damage as Lee Sin go Q, smite Q, or QQ smite, so you do, more damage, like a big burst damage right before you smite, and chain them together as close as possible so there's not a chance of it being stolen. So that's kind of, something everyone should get in the practice of. But that being said, there's certain champions that do it better than others. In particular, Lee Sin is really good at doing it, and that's why you see a lot of Lee Sin Baron steals. But certainly, be very wary. If the other team has an opportunity to outsmite you, if they have a Lux, if they have any of those champions that really cause trouble from like outside of Baron Pit range and can do a lot of damage from outside that range, probably don't do Baron unless you kill them, because you're giving them the opportunity to come back in the game. So that is the Wake Up Rundown. Hope you enjoyed. We will have another one